Warning: important information. All video stories presented here are created solely for informational purposes. The content within these videos is intended to inform and educate viewers. Please be aware that the information provided may not be exhaustive or up-to-date. It is essential to verify any critical information from reliable sources. The creators of these videos are not responsible for any actions taken based on the content herein. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to our channel, where books come alive on screen. Get ready for 5-chapter wonders that inform, captivate, and spark your imagination. Join us in this literary journey where every chapter is an adventure. From Street Hustlers to Kingpins, the Gangster Disciples Saga, by Just Stories. Chapter 1, Origins of the Disciples, Exploring the Early Days. In the sprawling urban landscape of Chicago, where hope and despair often existed side by side, a group emerged from the shadows to become a powerful force on the streets. This is the story of the Gangster Disciples and their humble beginnings. Picture the turbulent 1960s, a time when social upheaval was shaking the nation. In Chicago, poverty, racial tensions, and a lack of opportunity led to the birth of numerous street gangs. The Gangster Disciples, initially known as the Devil's Disciples, had its roots in the Woodlawn neighborhood on the South Side. As the African American population in Chicago grew, so did the gang's numbers. Young men who had few alternatives in life found camaraderie and identity within the Disciples. The gang's early days were marked by a desire for protection and a sense of belonging in a city that often seemed unforgiving. The turning point came when David Barksdale, a charismatic and influential figure, took the reins of the Devil's Disciples. Barksdale's leadership transformed the gang into the Black Gangster Disciples, which later evolved into the Gangster Disciples. Under his guidance, the gang adopted a structured hierarchy and a strict code of conduct. This evolution marked the gang's transition from a loose collective of street hustlers to a more organized criminal enterprise. The Disciples began to dabble in drug trafficking, which would eventually become a cornerstone of their operations. Their territory expanded beyond Woodlawn, spreading their influence across Chicago's South Side. Despite their criminal activities, the Gangster Disciples also took steps to address some of the social issues plaguing their communities. They initiated community programs and provided support to those in need. This duality, criminal enterprise and community involvement, created a complex identity for the gang. The early days of the Gangster Disciples set the stage for the decades that followed. As they continued to grow and evolve, their story would be marked by both acts of violence and efforts to uplift their neighborhoods. The gang's origins, rooted in a quest for identity and survival, provide crucial context for understanding their place in the annals of American street gangs. The journey from the Devil's Disciples to the Gangster Disciples was just the beginning of a saga that would leave an indelible mark on Chicago's history. Chapter 2, Rise to Power, the Gangster Disciples' Ascension. As the 1970s dawned, the Gangster Disciples were on the cusp of a transformation that would see them rise from a localized street gang to a formidable force that extended its influence across the sprawling city of Chicago. In this chapter, we delve into the critical period when the Gangster Disciples ascended to power. The gang's ascendancy was not without its challenges. They faced fierce competition from other street gangs and law enforcement scrutiny. The drug trade, particularly the distribution of cocaine and heroin, had become a significant source of income. The Gangster Disciples' involvement in this illicit trade led to increased clashes with rival gangs and law enforcement. Yet, the gang's leadership remained resolute. Larry Hoover, a charismatic and strategic thinker, emerged as a central figure during this period. Under his guidance, the Gangster Disciples continued to expand their territory, effectively controlling vast swaths of Chicago's South Side. The pivotal moment came in 1974 when Hoover united several smaller gangs to form the Black Gangster Disciple Nation. This consolidation marked a significant step towards the gang's rise to power. The BGDN provided a centralized structure that allowed for more efficient operations and coordination. Hoover's leadership style was a combination of charisma and authoritarianism. He imposed a strict code of conduct within the gang, demanding loyalty and discipline. The BGDN also adopted symbols, colors, and a unique language, further solidifying their identity. With a more cohesive organization in place, the Gangster Disciples expanded their criminal enterprises. Their involvement in drug trafficking continued to grow, and they ventured into other criminal activities, including extortion, racketeering, and contract killings. Their influence reached beyond the streets and into the realm of organized crime. Despite their criminal endeavors, the Gangster Disciples did not abandon their roots entirely. They maintained some community initiatives, providing assistance and support to their neighborhoods, albeit with a complex dual identity. The period of the Gangster Disciples' ascension to power was marked by both triumphs and tribulations. They had successfully transformed from a street gang into a formidable criminal organization, but this ascent came at a high cost, increased violence and criminality. The legacy of Larry Hoover's leadership during this era continues to shape the gang's identity and operations. In the chapters that follow, we will explore the challenges, conflicts, and repercussions that accompanied the Gangster Disciples' rise to power, providing a comprehensive understanding of their complex history. Chapter 3: A Notorious Brotherhood, the Gang Structure and Hierarchy. Within the ranks of the Gangster Disciples, a tight-knit brotherhood emerged, governed by a structured hierarchy and a set of unwavering principles. In this chapter, we'll delve into the inner workings of the gang, exploring how it evolved into a notorious brotherhood. The Gangster Disciples structure was modeled after military hierarchies, with distinct roles and responsibilities. At the top of the pyramid was the Supreme Gangster, a position initially held by Larry Hoover. Below the Supreme Gangster were regional leaders, known as governors, who oversaw operations in specific areas. Each governor had his own council, comprised of enforcers, advisors, and lieutenants. As the gang grew, it further divided into geographic sections, each with its own leadership structure. This hierarchy allowed for efficient control over various territories and criminal enterprises, from drug distribution to extortion. One unique aspect of the Gangster Disciples was their elaborate use of symbols and codes. Members used a complex system of hand signs, colors, and language to communicate and identify each other. These symbols were not only a means of recognition but also served to reinforce the gang's identity and unity. The gang's strict code of conduct demanded loyalty and obedience. Disloyalty or disobedience often resulted in violent consequences. The Brotherhood's unity was its greatest strength, and it was fiercely protected. The Gangster Disciples' structured hierarchy played a pivotal role in their rise to power and control over vast territories. This structure allowed for effective coordination in criminal activities, but it also brought a level of order to the chaotic world of street gangs. Despite their criminal endeavors, some within the gang remained committed to the idea of community service. They used their organization to address social issues, offering assistance to those in need, particularly in impoverished neighborhoods where they operated. The Gangster Disciples' intricate structure and tightly knit brotherhood were central to their identity and operations. While this structure contributed to their success, it also perpetuated a cycle of violence and criminality. In the chapters ahead, we'll explore the consequences of their actions, both within the gang's ranks and in the communities they inhabited. The story of the Gangster Disciples is one of contrasts, where a notorious brotherhood existed alongside a complex legacy of criminality and community involvement. Chapter 4: The Turf Wars, Battles for Control and Supremacy. In the sprawling urban landscape of Chicago, the Gangster Disciples found themselves embroiled in a series of turf wars that would shape their history. This chapter delves into the intense battles for control and supremacy that marked a pivotal period in the gang's existence. As the Gangster Disciples expanded their territory, they came into direct conflict with rival street gangs, such as the Black Disciples and the Vice Lords. These confrontations were often over control of drug distribution points, territory, and even personal vendettas. The stakes were high, and the violence escalated. Turf wars became a grim reality of life in many Chicago neighborhoods, with innocent bystanders often caught in the crossfire. The city's streets became a battleground where power and control were contested. One of the most infamous conflicts was the Folk Nation Alliance, a coalition of several street gangs that included the Gangster Disciples. This alliance aimed to unite various gangs under a common banner for protection and power. However, even within this alliance, tensions simmered and disputes over control persisted. The climax of this period was the emergence of Larry Hoover as the de facto leader of the Folk Nation. His influence extended beyond the Gangster Disciples, and he played a crucial role in attempting to unify the disparate gangs. Yet, this pursuit of power and control also drew the attention of law enforcement, leading to increased scrutiny and investigations. The turbulent era of turf wars had profound consequences. The violence associated with these conflicts brought a heavy toll on Chicago's communities, and the gang's reputation for ruthless territorial battles grew. The law enforcement response intensified, leading to arrests, convictions, and incarcerations. Despite the chaos, some members of the Gangster Disciples continued their community initiatives, attempting to mitigate the impact of the violence on the neighborhoods they operated in. However, the gang's criminal activities remained at the forefront. The era of turf wars was a dark and challenging period for the Gangster Disciples. The battles for control and supremacy had far-reaching consequences, leaving scars on the city and its residents. In the chapter that follows, we will explore how these conflicts shaped the gang's identity and their enduring impact on the communities they were a part of. The Gangster Disciples' journey was one fraught with struggle and conflict, but it was also marked by resilience and a determination to survive and succeed in a complex and often unforgiving environment. Chapter 5: The Demise and Legacy, the Gangster Disciples' Enduring Impact. In the annals of American street gangs, the Gangster Disciples carved a unique and complex legacy. As we conclude our journey through their history, this chapter explores the gang's ultimate fate, the enduring impact they left behind, and the questions that still linger. The 1990s marked a significant turning point for the Gangster Disciples. The increased scrutiny from law enforcement, coupled with internal conflicts, led to a decline in the gang's power and influence. Larry Hoover, their iconic leader, was arrested and sentenced to life in prison, effectively removing him from the streets. As Hoover's grip on the gang weakened, internal factions vied for control, leading to a fractured organization. Turf wars, once emblematic of their power, now seemed to hasten their decline. The 21st century witnessed a series of high-profile takedowns and convictions of Gangster Disciples leaders, further weakening the gang's infrastructure. While the gang's criminal activities continued, they were no longer the dominant force they once were. The allure of gang life began to wane as younger generations faced the harsh realities of incarceration, violence, and limited opportunities. This generational shift posed challenges to the gang's survival and relevance. In the midst of this decline, the legacy of the Gangster Disciples remained a subject of debate. Some argued that the gang's community initiatives and social programs, while often overshadowed by their criminal activities, had a positive impact on marginalized neighborhoods. Others contended that the gang's violence and criminality left lasting scars on these same communities. As the gang's power waned, so did their presence on the streets of Chicago and beyond. Law enforcement efforts, including the dismantling of key leadership and intensified policing, contributed to their decline. Despite these setbacks, remnants of the Gangster Disciples continued to operate, albeit in a diminished capacity. In the face of adversity, some former members sought to disassociate from the gang's criminal legacy, working towards personal redemption and community betterment. These individuals recognized the harm the gang had caused and sought to make amends. The Gangster Disciples' legacy is a complex tapestry of both good and bad, of community engagement and criminality. Their story serves as a cautionary tale about the allure and destructiveness of street gang culture. It underscores the need for holistic approaches to address the root causes of gang involvement and to provide alternatives for at-risk youth. In closing this chapter and the story of the Gangster Disciples, we reflect on the enduring impact of their presence in Chicago and the broader landscape of American street gangs. Their journey is one of transformation, power, and ultimately, a reckoning with the consequences of their actions. The legacy of the Gangster Disciples is a reminder of the profound challenges and complexities that persist in the realm of street gangs and the ongoing efforts to break the cycle of violence and create a path towards a more positive future. Thank you for diving into the world of words with us. If you had a blast exploring this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share the bookish love with your friends, and make sure to subscribe for more amazing 5-chapter adventures.